Will the January 16, 2013 meeting of the Guilford Planning and Zoning Commission please come to order? Thank you all for your attendance this evening. For the benefit of those present who may not have participated in the P&Z meeting, I will review our public hearing procedure, which is as follows. We will read the legal notice for the public hearing portion of this meeting as published in the local newspaper. Each applicant will then be invited to come forward and present their case, explaining to the Commission and the public what is specifically being requested of the subject property. Written comments from town agencies pertaining to the application will then be read into the record if the Commission has received any. Commissioners will then ask their clarifying questions, and the public will then be invited to ask any questions they have about the application. I will then ask those in attendance who support the application to please come forward and make their statement, and then I will ask those in attendance who oppose the application to please come forward and make their statement regarding the application. As this is a public hearing, it will be necessary for those coming forward to ask questions or to speak for or against any application to please identify themselves and state their name and address for the record prior to proceeding. At the conclusion of all statements from the public and the applicant, I will close the public hearing. The applicant and the public are then free to leave or remain for the balance of the public hearings and the regular meeting, at which time the Commission will discuss each application consideration and try to reach a decision. Each applicant will be notified in writing as to the decisions of this Commission. The applicant and/or any aggrieved party with legal standing will have the right to appeal this decision to Superior Court within the statutory time frame if they so desire, and all decisions reached at this meeting will be available to the public the next day by either visiting or calling the Planning and Zoning Office after 9:30 a.m. See, this evening are the following Guilford and Planning Zoning Commissioners: David Grigsby, Mike Cecina, I'm Ray Bauer, Peter Golitz, Kim Bailey, and Frank DeAndrea. Staff present this evening are George Crowell, the Town Planner, Reggie Reed, Zoning Enforcement Officer, Donette, our Recording Secretary, and coming in right now is Kevin McGee, the Environmental Planner, and the videographer is Shannon Gale. Will the Secretary please read the legal notice?
Legal notice, Guilford Planning and Zoning Commission. Notice is hereby given that the Guilford Planning and Zoning Commission will hold a public hearing on January 16th, 2013 at 7:30 p.m. at the Nathaniel B. Green Community Center, Minunkatunk Room, 2nd floor, 32 Church Street, Guilford, Connecticut, for the following purposes. Number one, Frank Jr. and Janice Castiglione, property located at 63 Marshall Ave, map 10, lot 104, zone R2. Coastal area management site plan for patio enclosure and new porch for residents within 100 feet of critical coastal resources, section 273-91. Number two, Guilford High School, property located at 605 New England Road, map 84/85, lot 1/9, zone R5. Special permit to allow a town building to exceed 35 feet in height, section 273-31. Number three, Richard Mazzella, property located at 50 North Street, map 46, lot 85, zone R1. Special permit for accessory apartment in an accessory structure, section 273-19. And finally, St. George's Roman Catholic Church Corporation, property located at 41 Woodfield Street, map 39, lot 96, zone R1. Special permit and site plan revision, add airlock to Church Hall rear entry, Articles 9 and 10. Copies of these applications are available for inspection in the Office of the Planning and Zoning Commission, Town Hall South, 50 Boston Street, Guilford, Connecticut. At this hearing, persons may attend and be heard, and written communications will be received, dated at Guilford, Connecticut, this 20th day of December 2012. Ray Bauer, Chairman.
Thanks very much, Mike. Okay, first time on the agenda this evening is Frank and Janice Castiglione. This property located at 63 Marshall Avenue. This is a CAM site plan application. This application, we opened the hearing on the 19th of December. You might recall we left it open specifically to address the stormwater issues, and I believe in addition, David, you wanted to see a copy of the variance, which I believe is in the file now, dated December 7th. Before you get started, let me just read a letter into the record that we have from Mark Damiani, Assistant Town Engineer, regarding the application. The applicant proposes to construct a small addition and add a covered front entry porch. The property currently has an existing stormwater system underground and rain barrels attached to the house to collect roof runoff or yard use. The proposed work slightly increases the amount of stormwater runoff. The applicant proposes to add another rain barrel to the house to collect this additional runoff. This measure satisfies the town's stormwater regulations.
Do you want to quickly mention this?
Yeah, just one other item, folks. If anybody is here for the Pelosi application, that's property located at 125 Water Street. The applicant has withdrawn that application, so there's no need for you to stay if the only reason you're here is for the Pelosi application. Okay, sir.
Good evening, Commissioner. My name is Joe Wren, professional engineer representing the applicant. Frank Siglione is seated on the front row to your right. As you had stated earlier, we were here last month. It's continuing this month because there were some questions related to, I believe, the FEMA flood zone and also the stormwater runoff from the site. Since then, what we did is we actually went into the town hall. We reviewed. This house was rebuilt. One was there before knockdown. It was rebuilt in 2005. There were variances at that time. House was rebuilt, so we reviewed those files and saw essentially what they planned for at that point in time. And also, at the same time, we met with Mark Aminetti, who's assistant town engineer. As a result of that meeting, he wrote the letter that you just read into the record. We have proposed to add an additional rain barrel through recall. I have some photos which I'll share with you in a minute. I know a couple of you were out there for the site walk back in probably November or so. But there are two existing rain barrels in the back corners highlighted on this map of the property, one there and one there. What's proposed now is an additional one in the front yard, on the opposite side of the house as the coastal resource to collect additional runoff from that area. If you recall from last month's discussion, we submitted some photos. I have more here. The previous owner of this property was very, very environmentally conscious when she added these rain barrels. All the surfaces, the walkways, the driveway, everything's pervious pavers. Nothing is asphalt, nothing is bluestone. It's all pervious pavers, so it's very environmentally conscious property. There's landscaping around the building and so forth. What is being proposed, as we discussed last month, is a small front entry porch in addition, which is under an existing cantilevered addition, so no additional coverage there. And then squaring off of the addition in this location where there's already like an octagonal, half of an octagonal bump out in there, so very limited. Only about a net increase of 42 square feet on this side, which is close proximity to the tidal wetlands. To the south, and then on the north, of course, we have the front entry porch that adds 103 square feet. Any additional runoff from that obviously can go to the rain barrel. Any runoff gets into an underground system. There is an underground system. If you look in the pictures, the roof leaders go directly into the ground. There's a driveway that slopes down to the garage, and at the base of the driveway, before you go up into the garage, is a trench drain. Those gutter downspouts and that trench drain tie into a dry well. Upon review of the plans from the 2005 application, I read through their coastal area management application at the time, and in there it specifically says that there will be a dry well installed to accept the excess runoff. So there is a dry well on this property, approximately in the location of the yard drain that was located by survey. So on this property, which by the way, I have an aerial photograph here, which I'll pass around. It's the smallest roof area on this side of Marshall Avenue, between Marshall Avenue and the water by quite a lot. There's a new construction house that's to the east that's probably 2 or 3 times the size of this house. It doesn't look like it has tidal wetlands near it, but it is much closer to the water than the subject property. The site photographs, I can pass those along too. These just show all the various corners of the property, the existing rain barrels right on the front coverage. Going through there, you can see all the landscaping, you can see the downspouts into the ground, you can see all the pervious, there's only one copy of all the pictures there. You can see all the pervious surfaces that are used and what very good condition they are in. We also, just for preparing for this meeting, we computed the 2-year runoff and the 10-year runoff off this property. And the difference is so minor that even rounding to the 10th of a CFS, we're getting, for the 2-year storm, we get 0.2 CFS. For existing conditions, 0.2 for the proposed condition. For the 10-year storm, you get 0.3 and 0.3. There's really no difference unless you start talking about hundreds and thousands of CFS. So very, very, almost immeasurable. Also, researching those town files, it was interesting to note the original house that was on the site, the original house and maybe paved driveway, was equated to about 26% coverage at that time. At that time, they went for variances to reduce that coverage, but they were still over the 15%. They were at about 18% or so, which is the existing condition. This proposal, which we received variances in December for, bring it from 18 to 21% coverage, that additional 3% increase. We received those variances, as you know, but the 21 versus what this property originally had, this covers 26, we're still a net 5% decrease from the original condition, pre-2005. The FEMA flood zone, as you know, does come and goes through this addition area. That's the line that's shown on the map. The existing map as it sits today, and as you all know, these maps are being updated. There's FEMA Zone X, so out of any flood zone to the north. And to the south of that dotted line is elevation 12, AE elevation 12. I reviewed the existing maps and proposed maps with the town engineer, and the flood zone is not changing this location. In fact, out in the marsh, today it's currently elevation 15. It's actually decreasing to elevation 13. That doesn't come onto this property, but it's just a note that the flood elevation is actually decreasing by FEMA outward and staying the same near the house. Now that's elevation 12, but the floor elevation of this house is about 14. So we're 2 feet above the flood. There was some mention about breakaway walls and things last time. Breakaway walls are essentially only required in B zones. This is an A zone. And we're 2 feet higher than the flood, so really nothing is required for this particular case. There is, the owner had a flood elevation certificate done, and there's no issue with that. The town engineer didn't find any issue with that. The last thing that I wanted to mention is that, obviously, last month you read the email from the DEP, John Goucher, into the record. And I won't read that whole email, but essentially he said it's a very small increase in coverage. No concerns about the coverage at all. His concern was about erosion sedimentation controls, which we have since added to the plan, as we discussed at the last meeting. This plan was revised. There's a third revision dated today, and I will give you 2 copies of that plan. Really, the only revision is we wanted to just point to the approximate location of the existing dry well, and we wanted to propose that third rain barrel.
Okay.
And I can give you 2 copies.
Great, we'll put one of those into the record after we go in. Any questions for the applicant at this time? Anybody in the public have any questions of the applicant? Is there anybody wishing to speak in favor of the application? Anybody wishing to speak against? Okay, last opportunity. Any questions or?
Do we have a signed stamped version? Did you submit that already?
No, but we'll get that into the record.
There is a stamped version in the record, just not the updated version.
Just not this one.
Right.
But he's
But
asking
we
for
do have
approval.
your representation that a stamped one will be put into the record. Any other questions from anybody? Okay, hearing none, I'll close the public hearing on this matter. Thank you very much. And we will move on to Richard Mazzella. This is a special permit for an accessory apartment and an accessory structure at 50 North Street.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Michelle. I'd like an IRC permission to rent out the cottage. Formerly was Dr. Emor Pavel's dentist
Dentist
office.
office. Oh, yeah.
Just seeking permission
It's
to
down
rent
to
the
10 for the file. Okay. Now, I see there was a zoning violation for September 20th in the file, Reg. Maybe you can just cover what that was about, or that's been
Yes.
rectified?
Well, it will be.
Okay. All right.
What Richard didn't tell you is they did receive a variance, 2 variances. One for the size of the apartment, because it's smaller than the required 400 square feet, and the other for a building that doesn't meet I believe, one of the setback requirements.
Okay,
It goes right near the road.
So with those variances...
We're okay.
We're okay.
there is a letter in the file from Dennis Johnson, Director of Health, dated the 16th regarding the application. The applicant's septic system was recently enlarged to accommodate the bedroom and the proposed accessory apartment. The addition of the accessory apartment complies with the health code requirements. In addition, we've done the checklist, and we got the affidavit on file that one of the the owner or one of the family members will be living there? Okay.
Mr. Mazzella's son will be living there, and he intends to put the property in his son's name.
So we're going to quit claim over to your son, or, okay. Questions from the commission?
Nice guy.
Are there any questions from the public? Is there anybody in the public wishing to speak for the application? Anybody wishing to speak against the application? Okay, one more opportunity. Any questions or information the commission would like to ask about this? Okay, hearing none, we'll close this hearing as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, as I said, the Pelosi matter's off. Next one, St. George's Roman Catholic Church Corporation's property located 41 Whitfield Street. This is a special permit and site revision to add an airlock to the church hall rear entry.
Hello, my name is Elizabeth Kozarek, and I'm the architect of the renovations at St. George Hall. So if you want to briefly through it, if none of you have been there for cookies at Christmas time, so you know where we're talking about. Okay, so this is the green and Whitfield Street. So if you turn and drive into the church and head towards the back of the parking lot, there's the Sullivan Center here. This is the hall, the church. This is the hall is what we're talking about. That's what we're renovating. And we're putting this little tiny airlock onto the front of the hall. So that's the actual area that you're looking at tonight. This plan which shows you the airlock that's being proposed. This is the hall space here, and then we're also putting on a patio, new stone patio, and then putting the necessary link to some accessible parking. So that's diagramming that connection through. This is the parking lot side proposed elevation, and you can see the image of the existing elevation. It's a little bit of an improvement, we think. And this is not necessarily something you're too concerned with, but that's the south side. This is the change and the side view of that airlock from the south side. In the drawings that I submitted, there are larger scale details. We did get the certificate of appropriateness from Historic District, and so there are details in there that were submitted to them, and a larger site plan showing the accessible parking connection.
Very good. We have a letter from Dennis Johnson, Director of Health, dated the 16th of January regarding the application. The applicant's proposed addition complies with public health code requirements regarding septic systems. Any questions from the commission? Any questions from the public? Anybody in the public wishing to speak in favor of the application? Anybody wishing to speak against it? Okay, any other questions from the commissioners? Hearing none, we'll close the public hearing. Thank you very much. And move on to the last public hearing item. This is Guilford High School, property located 605 Poland Road. This is a special permit and site plan to allow a town building in excess of 35 feet in height.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
My name is Richard Sipek. I'm a registered architect in the state of Connecticut, also a partner with the firm known as Taisuke Partners. We were retained by the town to prepare the plans along with our consultants for this project. We prepared a PowerPoint presentation because this is a public hearing. We wanted to make sure everyone saw the images. And we've introduced color in these images just for the sake of clarity. It's the same information that was submitted in the application. I do have copies of the PowerPoint presentation for your record. I've already given one to the recording secretary, and she asked me to make sure that I email the electronic version, which I will do. So I could ask you to just take one each and pass it along. With me this evening are three folks from my Lone and Nick room. That's Tom Shield in the back, and Nick Romenko, Steve Ditsko. They're going to take the bulk of the presentation in terms of all of the engineering and construction phasing. Well, we also have Dan Hetzler, who's sitting way in the back of the room. He's representing the construction manager that will be actually building the building, and he's available to answer any questions about construction phasing. This first slide that you see here is an aerial photograph of the existing conditions. The existing high school is located here in this collection of buildings. I'd like to call your attention to this portion of the building, which we will refer to as the science wing, because this portion of the building will remain. The proposed site is to the south of the existing high school complex in an area that right now has the baseball field. And there's about a one-story drop between the elevation of the school to the lower field here. Running along the north edge of the parcel is New England Road. There's the intersection with Orchard View Road. At the bottom is Schoolhouse Lane, and then Long Hill Farms residential development on the east. One of the challenges on this project is to build a new building on this same site while the existing building remains in occupancy. And so we need to make sure that it's done in a safe way. There's been a careful phasing plan developed, which we'll get to in a moment. This slide illustrates the footprint of the existing building, is shown in red, the science wing that will remain, and the footprint of the proposed new building. Now, the science wing footprint is 17,227 square feet. The footprint of the rest of the high school is 161,773 square feet. The two combined is 179,000 square feet. What we're proposing to do is build a three-story building that has a more compact footprint. The footprint of the new building is 122,000 square feet. So that's about 40,000 square feet less than the red area here. So even with the science wing in the future, the total is less than the two combined right now. And that's a factor in the development of site drainage. Let me orient you to this site plan, and then we'll get a little more into the information about the engineering. The main entrance to the school is on the north side, opposite this bus drop-off loop. There are two phases, or two stages of bus loading and unloading. To the west of that is the parking lot, and we are planning to have drop-off loading and unloading in this fashion along this walkway. Back out again. There's what we call the lower parking lot. Again, it's one story lower than this upper area, approximately. So parking is available there as well. There's the existing football field where we won't be doing anything unless the state requires certain things, but there's no plan to do anything. The state sometimes requires us to do minor modifications in terms of handicap accessibility. I don't know if that's going to occur here, but we don't plan to do any work in that area at the moment. There are the existing tennis courts to the east. We're not doing any work in that area. And then there's the Board of Ed Facilities Department offices at the extreme east. We're not doing any work in that area. Later on, you'll hear about the ropes course, which presently exists here along the eastern edge of the property to this location. It's a wooded area between the existing tennis courts and the Board of Ed building. So that's the north entrance. Directly opposite is the south entrance, which leads out to new play fields. To the west is the entrance off the lower parking lot, and that would be available after hours, leading into the commons area or cafeteria or gymnasium or auditorium. And on the east is another entrance or opening out onto a courtyard. So those are the four primary entrances into the school. There is an emergency access drive that goes entirely around the building. This was a requirement made by the fire marshal. This is an enlarged view of the landscaping that's completely around the building. I will let the landscape architects talk about that. But if you just picture this shape here, think of it as two components. One is what we call the bow tie portion. That's this portion. That's really the classroom block. The other portion to the left or to the west of that would be the large assembly spaces. So now if you look at the floor plan, and there are 3 floors, as I said. On the second floor, which is the upper floor, we would have, at the north entrance, we have the administrative offices here, and then the middle level of all of the classrooms. On the lower floor, off of the western entrance, is the large commons area with the entrance into the auditorium. To the left as you come in, and to the right, we have the gymnasium. There are more classes in art and technology classrooms on the lowest floor. The third floor is very similar, except that it's just this bow tie portion of the building with classrooms only. That explains the configuration of the footprint on the site and where the entrances are and why those entrances, where those entrances lead. Okay, at this point, what I would like to do is turn it over to Mylone and McBroom. They'll walk you through the site improvements that they envision. So Tom, if you don't mind.
Thanks.
Is that one?
Thank you. Hi. For the record, my name is Tom Scheel. I'm a landscape architect with Mylone McBroom, and we've been fortunate enough to be working with Richard and Taisu Kim, the building committee, and the school system on the new high school. And Steve and I will walk through some of the site plan elements. And I know you have a lot of questions. I don't want to shortchange our presentation. There's a lot here, but let's see how we do with walking you fairly quickly through some comments to help flesh out some of Richard's comments and give you a comfort level relative to what's happening on the site. So, just to help out a little bit more, you know we're R5 and we have residential all around us. Our site's 48.7 acres. Okay, it's mostly developed. And when you look at the school system in place here with the ball fields to the south, north is up, Orchard Drive is here, obviously parking Lincoln Road running along east and west. There's a lot to consider when we talk about planning things. And the first slide will show you is how Taisu placed the school. Okay, so now the tan color, of course, is our new high school, and the overlay shows its relationship. In a way, you can sort of see this. This is like a beginning overlay to explain how the new field configuration is going to be placed. And these green fields are slightly different locations than what you're used to seeing out there right now. Obviously, the stadium is going to stay in place. But where the current student parking is, there'll be two fields now. There'll be a new field, a new multi-use field, which will be very, very nicely sized for any competition activity, any use that the school system desires to take place. The baseball field, varsity field, was a bit of a puzzle because that's where we're putting the school. So we're going to take that and place it down in the southern end of the southern corner of the property where there's now two softball fields. Now our two softball fields will just slide right on over south of the school, where there currently is a practice field, and there is also a youth field as well. And that practice and youth field will now move up adjacent to New England Road. So the geometries of the sites for the athletic facilities have been moved around a little bit. Relative to the composition of the fields, they're going to be grass. They're not going to be synthetic. They're not going to be lit, but they are going to be irrigated. We will provide conduit for the multi-use field. The athletic community would like that field to be lit. It is not planned to be lit right now. Should it ever decide to be lit, they will come back before you to talk about that. That's not in the program right now. This leads to really the full body of the site plan. And I'll spend a couple minutes talking with you about that. And as a matter of record, we will tell you that in this R5 zone, the plans for the expansion or really the creation of the new school do meet the zoning criteria for the zone for the various dimensional criteria that we're responsible for meeting. Those would include site frontage, front setback, side setback, rear setback, building coverage. For instance, in the R5 zone, we're allowed 20%. We're roughly about 7% for building coverage. So the whole series of lot shape and setbacks, frontage, they're all satisfied relative to the regulations. In addition, the lengthy planning process that has been conducted has included an extensive planning process that has included town staff. It has included emergency services, fire and police. It has included the great work of the building committee in conjunction with the school system itself. It has included review by the design review committee and meetings with the neighbors. So there's been a very iterative process, which we hope is successful tonight in having you feel that the school is moving ahead very nicely. Now, site plan wise, Richard gave you a very nice presentation of what's really happening. Just to give you a couple of more comments before we go into some specifics. You can see the bus drop off here is going to accommodate 14 buses. And you come in two waves now. You're going to continue to come in two waves of buses. The drive is actually right opposite the intersection of Orchard Hill Road itself here. But the circulation system has been simplified over what is currently at the school. There's more entrances into and out of the school right now. Now we're proposing really three. One is existing by the tennis courts. One is, if you go back to your overlay, it matches out with the bus drop-off. A major one that would be for the parents, students, and teachers to come and access the various parking lots. And we are asking for approval for what we are really considering potentially a future parking lot. So we're going to ask for approval for that. Right now, the current parking at the school is 492 spaces. That's the count for what exists on the site. This configuration of parking is 492 spaces. So we're matching, we're not increasing parking, we're not decreasing parking. We did have the opportunity to add an additional 56 spaces should the community wish to add those spaces. We're not planning to build those right now, but we are going to ask for approval. If you do approve those spaces, they will be built obviously according to all the criteria that are part of the plans. In discussing the frontage of the property with planning and with police, traffic, there has always been some concern about what's happening along New England Road with cars parking along there, creating some congestion. We are going to be putting a guide rail, landscaping and berms along here, so you won't have that, we don't feel you're going to have that problem anymore. Relative to the circulation around the site, Richard talked about the various parking lots and some of the levels that are associated. The parking lot up in the north, next to the bus drop-off, I believe is going to be primarily for students. There may be some teachers in there, but this does include a parent drop-off in here, which can loop around. That's very nicely sited so that you have good access and you're not going to conflict with the buses, because you have some conflicts right now. You have a spur of parking off to the west. You have a drop down in grade down to the lower parking, and you can see the fields are sort of broken up nicely. And I believe the parking here will be for the teachers, and obviously when Richard gets to talking about what the activities in the building in the evening, there'll certainly be a lot of parking down here for that. And the gray road here will be gated. That is the emergency services drive. It'll be 15 feet wide. It'll be paved. It'll also have some shoulders, which will be structurally supported. And we have gone through that planning process with the town emergency services and planning to work on that. On the northwest portion of the building, there's a service area. That is where the mechanical yard will be placed. That's where the dumpsters will be placed. That's where the loading docks will be placed. And that will tie in as you climb a little hill up to parking and access out onto Neyland Road. The tennis courts are going to remain in place. And when we go through our presentation in a little bit more detail, you'll see how that'll be dovetailed into the construction process. I'm going to move on to a little bit of the landscaping. I won't spend a lot of time on because there's a lot to talk about the building, but there is a nice landscape plan that we've been working on. And we've been working back and forth with Tai Su and Richard about some of the palettes of materials. We're very excited about what's happening around the building proper. It includes elements there's a lot of sustainable elements that are incorporated in the building, and we've been directed to also include those in the site plan of the project as well. So there's a major rain garden right at the bus drop-off. I'll talk a little bit, if you'd like, about some of the grass treatments around the building. There are going to be levels of grasses, love grass and switchgrass and blue stem that will be in a lightly mowed condition. So there's going to be sort of a natural feel to the grasses. There'll be very little formal grass around the school itself proper, except of course for the athletic fields. They'll all be maintained turf. But we have the opportunity here to do a couple of things. As you drive in, there's a rock outcrop on your left as you drive in, and there's vegetation on that. And what Tai Su has done is he sited it so that we'll shave that rock, expose it, show that as part of the character of the site, and then see the building as you come in, and then we'll balance it with, there'll be a grove of cherry trees that will be nice in the springtime. There'll be native trees around the building itself, shadblows, and then we'll be going into a mix of oaks and hollies and dogwoods associated with the buffer area that we want to help create and maintain in conjunction with what's happening with the neighbors. This is just a little example to show you what's happening in some of the detail with the rain garden. There's a series of grass compositions with sedges, switchgrass, Joe Pye weed happening in this sort of like a little bit of elegant drainage feature, which will tie into some of Steve Ditzko's work when he talks about what's happening with the water management on the site. And then the grasses themselves around the grounds proper of the school, the little blue stem, the broom sedge, and the purple love grass will not be mowed on a regular basis, but they'll be sort of naturalistic looking. So we think that's going to be nice. There's a lot happening on the landscaping. If you'd like some more detail on that as we go through the presentation, I'll get back to that. We're just showing you this one slide because there was some discussion in conjunction with the wetlands officer and the wetlands approval. We do have wetlands approval for the project, so we're here now for planning and zoning. One comment was a concern about some of the plantings adjacent to New England Road. There was a request for more variety in the plantings. So we've gone and added a series of different families of oak, 3 varieties of oak in there. That has not been submitted to you on the record, but we're prepared to follow through as a supplement to the wetland meeting to provide that for you. Lighting, we have addressed lighting, site lighting, which is important. This is photometric, it's impossible to read. It takes a while to understand it. In short parlance, we are going to provide lighting, satisfactory lighting for the parking and for the walkways for students to conduct themselves and manage their circulation around the site. The fixtures are going to be light emitting diode LED systems, which are the more current systems of lighting. And there's a family of lights that are nicely designed. The parking lot lights away from the school are 28 feet in height. The lights that are associated with the pedestrian walkways and in proximity to the school are 16 feet in height. And there's approximately, I think there's about 80 pole lights. This plan does show bollard lights at the entries, the 3 entries to the school, the plaza, I guess that's the west entry and the north entry as well. So if you have some questions about lighting, you can come back and talk about lighting as well. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on the next 4 slides. We're just going to demonstrate to you that we have submitted grading plans at the appropriate scale for the site. These are divvied up into quadrants, 4 quadrants that comprise the entire site. It's complicated relative to the grading. It's more interesting when you talk about the phasing. It's kind of boring. It's hard to make this exciting sounding, but I like grading, and we're making the fields work. We're making the parking work. We're making the sidewalks work, and we're tying it all in so it's functional and operational and works successfully, and helps Steve, as we're going to move into him, manage his water and his utility and his services. So when you have questions about the elevations and what's happening, we can come back to that and talk in as much detail as you wish. That's sort of a little capsule summary of the site plan. And you're going to have a lot of questions. I want to give Steve an opportunity to talk about utilities. I know you're going to want to hear a little bit about the phasing process, and we have to let Richard talk about the building because that's the most exciting thing about the site. Really.
What's the existing lot coverage today?
The existing lot coverage.
And what you're going to 7%, right? So I just want to know what you're coming from.
Yeah, the building, I got those right. Got my cheat sheet. Okay, the building coverage right now is 3.9 acres. So our building coverage that we're going to have on the site is 3.3. So there's a reduction in acreage on building coverage.
Okay.
Does that help?
Yes.
Okay.
My name's Steve Ditzko. I'm a professional engineer with Malone McBroom. Tom's covered most of the site elements that walk you through what's going on. I'm going to talk a little bit about just the service of the site from a utility point of view. The site is served by public water, which will be taken from New England Road and fed into the proposed building, along with a fire loop around the perimeter that's been reviewed and endorsed by the assistant fire chief. Sanitary sewage from the building goes to an existing septic system. The enrollment at the school is projected to be stable over the next decade and for the life of the school, if not declining a little bit. There is an existing system that was built large scale about 12 years ago that is being re-permitted with DEP to use with the new building. It takes care of the wastewater. And the blue lines that you see all over the place, I don't expect you to pay a lot of attention to that, but as Tom mentioned, the grading of the site brings the water in a number of directions, and what our job was to do our best to mimic the existing drainage patterns, which happen to go off the site in all four directions, north, south, east, west, and make sure that we didn't have an increase in runoff from current conditions, existing conditions, to post-development conditions. But what we also looked at was that short-term condition when you have two schools in place at the same time with two rooftops. And so to deal with that, we have a temporary detention basin down in this area, and we added a permanent detention basin down here as well, which during construction will take care of those increases in runoff. As we move to the post-construction phase, old school to new school, as the architect mentioned, you've gone to a bigger gross square footage on the school, but a smaller footprint, because we go from essentially 1.5 stories to 3 stories. And so that helps us out a great deal. And we're able to report that all the runoff leaving the site does so in a manner that at peak rates less than currently leave the site, recognizing some concerns that neighbors had over the years around the perimeter of the site. We worked with staff a good deal, as Tom mentioned, with fire and police, and also our meetings with town staff and planning staff. A lot of questions came up. Well, you know, this is a challenging site. As Tom said, it's small. We've got 2 schools going on at the same time, building it. How are you going to do that and provide emergency services to the site, fire service access, get the kids in and out of the school? And so I'll just go through these briefly, but submitted with the package were 7 slides that show how the construction manager will execute the site work and the building work. So day 1, essentially, you have the existing school with the ball field. As Tom mentioned, the new school essentially goes on top of the ball field. This will be the primary construction access down by the existing tennis courts and along the future fire access road. In the south part of the site where you see the blue, that'll essentially be the staging area. Building supplies, equipment, soil stockpiles. There'll be trailers placed in front of the school to control the construction access. There will not be students that make ingress or egress out of that driveway any longer during the construction of the school. We'll also build a bypass loop around here so that there is fire access around the perimeter of the school. We have a narrow 25-foot space or so between the existing and proposed school, so we're maintaining that. And then we have the existing bus loop, which will be maintained in service. So here we go to phase 2. This building footprint is under construction, whether it's the foundation or up to the 3rd floor. This will be for a significant period of time in which the construction access will be maintained on the east side, secondary access around the west side, and the bus loop still up here. And as things continue to come online, you can see the temporary, this is the permanent detention basin, and the temporary one down here in green. And as we move to the point in time that the new school is there and can be occupied, what we will do is make provisions along this temporary road for the bus loop. That's the yellow. Now kids are coming into school here. They'll go into the lower part of the building. And what the contractor will do is remove the existing high school from the east side heading west. You can see the outline in the blue here. We'll still have staging and stockpile areas here as the building comes down up in this area. Demolition will move to the west. As it does, we'll construct the bus loop here. And so now we have the yellow bus loop heading right into the school. The long-term access to the school for bus and kids coming to school each morning is on the 2nd floor here at grade with New England Road. That's the loop. We still have this bypass section down here to get us down to the lower part of the staging area, remove the rest of the school except for the science wing. And then we move to phase 2C, which I believe is the 7th slide, or the 6th slide, where now we've built this parking area and We have a tremendous amount of work up here to convert parking to ball fields. Here's all the topsoil for the ball fields. It'll come up that way. And then we move to the finished condition, and essentially the last thing to do is to demobilize the staging area and the trailers. I've done my best to explain that. The construction manager has a representative here as well to explain that. We also have our traffic engineer tonight, which he won't take the floor unless there's questions on the bus access and the vehicle. But again, I can say from a traffic point of view, we have no change in enrollment. The traffic situation will be improved by the way that we enhanced the queuing area for buses and parent drop-off and limited the number of driveways, so the traffic will be better than it is now. And with that, I will turn it back over to Richard.
I'd like to move to now the exterior of the building and the building height. Just as a reminder, this is the footprint of the building. North entrance is here, south on the opposite side, west and east. Remember that we have the bow tie, and then we have the large assembly spaces on the left, or the western side. This is the auditorium. Keep that in mind. This is the gymnasium, and keep that in mind. If we look at a massing model, which we built, you can see that it's a collection of different heights. The auditorium is this block here. It's inboard of the perimeter wall. Behind that is the gymnasium here with the monitor skylights up above to allow daylight into the gymnasium. The west entrance here is here, just up next to the lower parking lot. The north entrance is here, and then the bow tie section, the classroom block, is the 3-story portion here. Looking at it from the opposite side,
Well, just while we're there, what portions there are over 35 feet? And how high are they over 35 feet?
I will get to that when I
Good.
show you the
Okay.
elevations. Again, this is the classroom side, the south side. Although this isn't quite rendered properly, there will be some cascading stairs as well as a ramp in order to get from the lowest level of the building down to the even lower level of the playfields. So that's not represented in the model, but that will be shown in the drawings. This is the appearance of the building from New England Road. This is the north elevation. And as you can see, from the north elevation, it's a 2-story building. That's because, remember, I said there's a 1-story drop from the present elevation down to the lower level. So the lower level can't be seen from this vantage point. The building is a composition of brick, precast concrete, aluminum, glass, and metal panel. To the left, you can see the upper 2 stories of the classroom block. You can see the administration and student services offices upstairs. There's an open portico or porch here to the right. And that's about it. We're looking right along the center of the bus drop-off area. Oh, to the left is this rock outcropping that Tom had mentioned earlier, which we plan to expose as part of this landscape design. If we look at the west elevation, the west parking lot, this is the entrance into the commons area or cafeteria in the middle. To the left are some music rooms, which need some height in order to be able to properly perform and practice. Beyond that, you can see the height of the auditorium poking up above there. The gymnasium is lower. It's blocked to the right. In front of that are the locker areas, locker rooms. Now, this is a section through the building. I included it in this presentation and included it in the handout. It wasn't part of the original submission, but I need to show you the section through the auditorium to explain one of the primary reasons why we have to go to the 47-foot height. Actually, it's 46 feet, 6 inches. And the reason is because we're trying to accommodate 600 seats, platform or stage with some catwalk up above, catwalks up above here, some acoustic clouds, mechanical space up above that, and structure. So we need that height in order to create the volume that's necessary in order for singers or orchestra to perform and acoustically have an adequate space, an adequate performance. We had at one time talked about a fly space, which would have added another story and a half. That was eliminated. It's not a full fly space, so it's a very compact auditorium, but the right size for the purpose of this program. The south elevation, remember I said it cascades down to the lowest level, down to the playfield area. To the left is the gymnasium. You can see the metal paneling on the gym. And then on the right, you can see the three-story block of the classrooms. This glass tower is one of the stair towers. The classroom block is 3 stories. Between the 2 blocks is the opening that leads out into this courtyard. And if you go through those doors, you'll come to the commons area or cafeteria. So this portion matches the same height as the auditorium. This also is the 46.5 feet in height. As measured, as it's regulated, based upon existing topography. Now that's going to change because, remember, we're tucking the building into the hill. We're going to actually be filling the area in front to get the proper elevation entrance, and roughly about 5 feet of fill in different parts of underneath the footprint. So the appearance of the building would actually be less if you compare the new topography with the height versus the existing topography. This is the commons area, and this is the 2-story space that you'll see as you come into the building. This will serve as a lobby also for the auditorium performances on the left and the gymnasium activities on the right. This is the atrium space. This is the space between the bow tie element and the large assembly element. And it has skylights up above, all below that 46-foot height to let natural daylight into the atrium space. So that formally concludes the presentation. We'd be happy to go back to any slide if you like, answer any questions that you may have.
Okay, we do have, before we get to the questions, a memo in the file from Kevin McGee, our environmental planner, dated today. Kevin, maybe you can just read that into the record. Everyone in the audience can hear what you have to say.
Okay. Guilford High School, 605 Newman Road, Guilford, Connecticut, 6427. Assessors map 84, lot 1, assessors map 85, lot 9. The applicant has completed the checklist to guide low-impact development best management practices and is utilizing the majority of the recommended practices. The site is located in an area designated by the Planning and Zoning Commission as a vulnerable local watershed, and as such, within the vulnerable local watershed area, low-impact development techniques shall be employed in the development of land as recommended by the environmental planner or the town engineer. The 48.7 acre site currently contains 12 acres, 25% of impervious surface coverage, and the proposed redevelopment of the property would increase the impervious surface to 13.5 acres, 27%. In order to mitigate the increase in impervious surface, stormwater systems has been developed utilizing some low-impact design principles. The stormwater management system consists of catch basins and roof leaders discharging to detention basins and/or underground detention systems along with the rain garden construction if possible. The plans for the project have sedimentation and erosion control procedures that are in compliance with 273-97B, subsection 6 of the zoning regulations. In addition, engineers have provided a construction phasing plan designed to control stormwater during the different stages of construction. Due to the amount of land disturbance, the applicant is also required to apply to the Department of Energy and Environmental Protection for a construction permit, which will place monitoring requirements for the sedimentation and erosion control measures. The Guilford Inland Wetlands Commission at its January 9, 2013 meeting approved a regulated activity with conditions for storm drainage improvements, a new detention basin, and reconstruction of the athletic field as shown as Guilford High School, 605 Newman Road, Guilford, Connecticut. Regulatory approval plan sheets 130 dated December 5, 2012 and revised January 8, 2013. In order to make sure that the wetlands are protected, I recommend the following conditions are approved to ensure future compliance with stormwater systems in accordance with 273-75 after the zoning code. A written maintenance and operation manual for all stormwater management systems located at the subject site. The manual should provide provisions for yearly inspections, maintenance of the stormwater system, and yearly reports to the town engineer. The maintenance schedule should include information on the monitoring of the catch basins and detention basins and removal of accumulated materials and non-native invasive species in the rain gardens and detention basins. The maintenance plan needs to provide a statement that the stormwater management plan will be reviewed annually, so that inspections/maintenance requirements may be modified, and that any changes to the plan would be approved by the town engineer. And an as-built drawing of the completed stormwater system prepared in accordance with section 273F of the stormwater management, section 6, construction. The final plan for the high school construction project shows trees along New England Road to be red maples. The design creates monoculture trees along the road. The problem with monoculture trees is that the tree disease or insects to a tree species lose the whole streetscape of trees. What is currently troublesome to tree professionals in the state of Connecticut is a threat of the Asian longhorn beetle, which is, if not controlled in the Worcester area of Massachusetts, could wipe out the maple trees across the state of Connecticut. As a condition of approval, I recommend the landscape architect revise the plans to prevent the monoculture of trees. In addition, the approval letter should note that in accordance with 252-9 of the town code, that a permit is required from the tree warden for any planting or removal of trees and shrubs on town property. And as noted, they are working on the creation or reducing the monoculture in the presentation.
You're aware of those conditions, and are they okay with whomever is the spokesperson?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, the answer is yes.
Okay. All right, now we do have another letter in here from concerned citizen, and then I think Reggie did look at some of the facts regarding that. But before we get to that, let's start with some questions. Any questions from the commission? Okay, questions from David? You have
I have some, but I'll let people ask if they want to.
Well, why don't you go first, and then we'll get to the public.
Sure. Can you talk about the servicing being off to the east, meaning where the loading and dumpsters? Can you, A, tell me where it is right now, and then B, tell me more about how that, just on a logistics traffic flow is going to work? Are trucks pulling in, backing in?
Well, currently, the loading area is on the west side.
Okay.
So,
Tom, if I may, except for the cafeteria.
the cafeteria down and back.
Right.
Okay. Back here. Okay. So we're consolidating all the services at this easterly location. So the service access would be coming through the current access off of New England Road that you would come to play tennis, or there's a lot of teacher parking there. And you would go down the hill, and you can see it's a fairly wide area of gray. We run turning movements for the various vehicle sizes that would be providing trash pickup and deliveries for the school. And I believe it would go up to, we did up to WB 62s, but I think the more common size would be maybe a WB 50. This is where the trash would be set up. So they would come in and front load, drive forward, back, and go. So there'd be some K-turns associated with movements. There's also a workshop. I think it's technology. And there are doors for the kids who are working on the cars and the boats to come out through here as well. The gate will be set back far enough so that when the trucks come down and need to move, they'll be able to come forward and do their backing movements without having the gate open. The gate system for the emergency access will always be shut, so you're not going to have routine traffic going around the school. That's only emergency access that will be gated. Does that help?
Yeah, can you point to me as best you can where the dumpsters are going to be?
They're going to be right in this location here.
Okay.
There's
Yes,
gonna be a line of
is that a
dumpsters.
wall? Is that a
Yeah, there is a wall, because what happens is that the building is set at a certain elevation, and the drive slopes down for a loading area. I think the loading area is 42 or 48 inches. And you have to pick up that grade. So the wall is set so that the grade continues to drop, and dumpsters are out in front, and the front higher grade.
Any sense going forward what the hours of operation will be for loading and unloading and that kind of servicing?
I'm going to have to defer to the principal or superintendent of schools.
Presently, loading takes place early in the morning and sometimes in midday as well.
How early is early in the morning?
We can have 6:30. We have trucks coming in 6:45 sometimes, 7 o'clock.
School start. I don't know yet. I'm serious. What time does school start for high school?
7:25.
Oh my God.
But
I have a question. Basically, from New England Road, obviously when you look at the school, even though it's going to be 46.6 feet inches at its highest height, or 3 stories, you're not going to see a larger structure because it drops off in the back. Is that correct?
That's true, Richard.
That is correct.
Okay.
There's about a 15-foot height that's below grade at that elevation, yes.
All right, questions from the public? Anybody in the audience have a question?
I can't hear you.
Any questions?
Yes, I do have a question. I don't
Okay,
know whether
if
it's
you
a
could come
question
up
or...
and please just identify yourself and give your address, please.
Yes, my name is Imogene St. Paul, and I'm glad that that's still up there because I live right near the tennis courts.
Okay.
And I think you've got another one on there, but I have a little map for you also.
Okay, now remember, this is the time for questions. We'll get to for and against statements in a little while, so this is for questions. So please ask your question.
I've asked for a row of trees to be put here because they're planning to put a sidewalk that will take people from the playing field over here, some kind of here, and the parking lot that's going to be back over here.
Okay.
And all these people would be walking right by my house within a stone's throw of my front door. And so I'm requesting a row of trees be planted along.
Okay. Are you aware of that request?
Yeah, we've met with Mrs. St. Paul, who lives in a house located as part of Long Hill.
Yeah.
Long Hill is
Oh,
the residential community to the southeast. So her house is close to the tennis courts.
Okay.
Yeah.
And there's the dark green represents existing vegetation. But what's happened, as Mrs. St. Paul has explained, is there's been, because of Irene and the other large storm, the ice storms, Sandy?
Sandy, yeah.
Okay. So there were large trees in the canopy that were creating some more buffer between her house and the tennis. And those trees have been knocked down. So there's still vegetation in place, but wintertime it's now open. Summertime it's probably going to be more open because the trees are down. And she's planted a couple of trees around her house, but she still has an open view of the tennis court.
Is that something you can address as part of this plan?
Well, yeah, we have not been directed by the project team to add the trees. We've told Mrs. St. Paul we would continue to get direction from the building committee and touch with Kim.
Okay, well, who's here from the building committee or the project team? Okay, is that something that you could address with
We
Mrs.
have
Sippel?
discussed it. We have a limited landscape budget built in of just about $150,000 to date. As you may know, there's been a lot of value engineering going on to get the project within budget. And at this point, we haven't added anything for additional trees along that side. I know Mr. Macenti's been talking with the environmental club at the high school, and they've been talking about possibly helping out in this area as well.
Well, let me just get this straight. So this is not something that's going to occur as a result of the construction. This is because of the hurricane and other natural acts that have occurred.
I mean, they didn't, in the first place, they didn't plan to put sidewalks there. Now they have planned it. That's what really makes it.
So there is a sidewalk being added that's going to
Yes.
impact.
There's a relocation of the ropes course, which is the challenge elements for the high school. So the ropes course is going to be located east of the tennis courts. They're not going to be taking down trees, they'll be placing the ropes course amongst all the vegetation. But we will have to build an accessible route for the students to get to the ropes course. So Mrs. St. Paul is correct that there will be a walkway planned along the tennis courts.
And heavily trafficked with that, because there's going to be a parking lot back there as well as that playing field.
Is it possible to try to meet with Mrs. St. Paul?
We've met with Mrs. St. Paul and a few of the other neighbors already, and while we are sympathetic to her situation, certainly, we haven't been able to commit to anything at this early date. Once we get the 100% CD estimates in, we'll have a better idea of what kind of wiggle room we might have in the budget to add additional trees.
Okay.
Frankly, I don't think that's very satisfactory, since it'll ruin my privacy in the value of my house. That's very serious to me.
Okay, I appreciate that, and we'll bring that up again when we get the statements for and against, but right now, I mean, you got an answer to your question. You may not like the answer at this point, but I think we've answered that particular question. Okay. Any other questions from the audience? David, you have some more?
Sure.
I'm sure you do.
Talk to me, if somebody can, about where the mechanicals in terms of building systems, HVAC units, is there a boiler or a furnace? Where is that, and where are they venting, and are they on the roof, are they?
It's all of the above.
All of the above.
Right. We have an equipment room, actually, let's go to a plan. We have an equipment room and boiler room located here, and it's completely underground. You can't see it at all. It is connected to rooftop equipment, so heated water goes up to fan coil units up on the roof and is distributed throughout the building. There's also chillers that are placed on the roof as well. We do have a generator that's outside this area, a loading area, and there's some equipment on the ground as well, but we have this plan. You see these boxes here?
Mm-hmm.
One of them, it represents a generator, and two of them represent mechanical equipment, chillers. And then there may be a transformer here as well. All of that is tucked into the slope, so we have a retaining wall here with vegetation planted above and around it.
Mm-hmm.
So the view of it really will be from the service side and not from the other sides around it.
Is the generator a temporary generator, meaning a backup generator?
It's an emergency generator, so it has to be exercised at least once a month, but it's really there for emergency purposes only.
Okay. And viewing, I understand it won't be, it sounds like it's screened. What about noise?
Well, we have specified a generator that has an acoustic enclosure. So when it's being exercised, it will probably sound like a Kaizen truck. It's not a very, very, very loud.
And chillers and things like that don't make a whole lot of noise. There's fans.
There's fans. Generally, they force the air upwards, not out that way. Again,
I just note that it's close to the property, close to the residential neighborhoods. That's why.
What we have done is line these kinds of retaining walls with acoustic treatment as well, so it doesn't reflect off the wall. It's absorbed by the wall.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions from the commission?
Yeah, one more question.
Sure, David.
Lighting. Can somebody show me again, we looked briefly at the lighting. You talked about there being 80 poles. It looks like some of the poles do go along the southeast, I'm going to call it, the access road.
The access road running around the
Sorry,
south.
can you see that, or would you prefer the other diagram?
I'm looking at that, I think.
Yes, you are.
See
It's
it,
very
so
faint.
I'll do the best I can with what.
The access road is not have pole lights on it.
Okay.
There will be a plan for lights off the building when the architect goes through his full details, but I think the lighting will probably, you can see some red dots, there's lighting associated with the south exit, the
Just
south
around the
plaza.
entrances.
But wherever you see a color of a dot, those are the lights that are proposed. So when we get you can see the lot that we're asking for approval for would be lit itself, even though we're not going to build that now. That's part of the 80. Okay. So there's a whole system, and it's coded relative to the type of light distribution, relative to the height for the menu, which is up in the upper left. There is the menu for the lights, for the 80 lights.
George, when staff reviewed it, this conforms to the lighting ordinance, right? Regulations.
It does. I mean, I can't remember whether or not design review talked about the lighting plan or not.
Yeah, the lights are a combination of full cutoff and semi-cutoff, so they meet the cutoff regulation for the town.
Yes.
But there's a distribution pattern would determine whether it's a full cutoff or a semi-cutoff.
Okay, any other questions from the...
Can you just go over on the elevations what the heights are? I know I've got 46.5 on the
Oh, gosh.
gym, but I'm wondering on the front elevation and then on the bow
I'm
tie
going to have to
portion.
approximate it because I don't have exactly what it is. I do know that 46.5 is to the top of the 3-story block, the classroom block. And it's 46.5 feet to the top of the auditorium. Those are the largest elements. Okay? So now if we go to the elevations, this is the front elevation. This is about 15 feet less. So that would be 31.5 feet. If we go to the west elevation, it's probably, I'm going to guesstimate, about 35 feet. The auditorium, which is 46.5, is a little bit higher. So that's to the top of the music block, the fitness room, and part of the media center block, and everything else is lower. If we look at the south elevation, this represents 46.5 feet. The atrium space, that 2-story lobby, is actually lower. This is probably about 30 feet. This is a lower portion of the classroom block. And the gymnasium, I'm guesstimating, is probably about 33, 34 feet, roughly.
And all these heights that you're referencing now are off existing grade.
Off existing grade, yes, sir.
But just to reiterate, you will be regrading, so if you were to measure it off the revised grading, it would be on average 5 feet less, or is it different everywhere?
No, it's different. I would guesstimate it's probably about 3 feet average, all the way less.
Okay. David?
Can you talk to me about the construction? How long is this going to take in general? And because I'm thinking that to the southeast again, that's your laydown area and that's your equipment storage.
That's correct.
So presumably, I believe that's residential to the south.
There's an access road to the residence. Let's see, so if we go to...
No, I'm just saying, I think that's adjacent to...
Well, there's the access road to Long Hill Farms here from this direction.
Okay.
So this right now is the practice field.
But I mean, but to the other side of the access road, that's actually not really, there are any houses that are done, or not? Couple, looks like.
That's their septic system.
Oh, that's Long Hill Farms septic
Field
field?
there?
No homes.
All right, so anyway, so how long is construction anticipated? And do we have any sense of hours of operation and things like that? Hours
That
of
sounds like, you
construction?
didn't think you were going to get away without answering anything. Dan Hetzler from the construction.
Yep, to introduce myself, my name is Dan Hetzler. I'm with the ONG Musco Joint Venture Partnership. To answer the question, we have 20 to 21 months of construction during the main building phase. The following 6.5 to 7 months is the demolition of the existing structure and building the fields out to the west.
So 3 years.
27 and a half months.
And then hours of when when are you going to start working? Are you working 24 hours? What's the plan in terms of
The
that?
typical workday is a 7 to 3:30 day. We do have trades that will push the envelope to a 5 o'clock time frame, but we stipulate in the documents and in the contracts that we conform to the local ordinances.
Okay, so 3 o'clock in the morning, someone's not going to be out there
No,
driving a pile.
I don't know. Because those are the phone calls I get.
And Richard.
Okay, any other questions from the audience? Kim?
The neighbor that brought up the walkway and the temporary parking area, what's the timing on that? Because it's not shown on some of them, you know, that it's a road course or a temporary parking, I don't see on that.
I'm going to yield to you, Richard.
Sure. There's an existing road course that's approximately here. That's going to be relocated to the wooded area here, and it's going to be built within the woods. There is going to need to be a walkway for accessibility from the school along here, alongside the tennis courts, I imagine, right to the ropes course. So I believe that's the area in question.
And what phasing is that? Is that during the active building phase, or is that the following 6 to 7 months?
I would
Or are you relocating it now if that's becoming a staging area?
That's a good question. Let's see if we can go to that image.
The ropes course move, correct me if I'm wrong, Richard, is a recent,
Yes.
more recent to the plan documents. That's why the new sidewalk's not shown yet.
Right.
But as far as the timing of the sequence, that would, if it's something that needs to be installed for the student year, that's,
Well,
it starts in September 2013.
Right, can I clarify?
It would begin 2013.
This needs some more thought, I think, because
The current site plan that we have does not include the ropes course, nor does it include the walkway that was described.
yes.
So that would have to be a modification to this plan to implement.
Would they have to come back before us? I mean, are
Yes.
So that's not approved? if
That's
this
not part of
application is
that's not
approved.
part of the application pending before you. I don't believe. It's not.
It's not on there, it's not
on the
before
draw-
us
It's not on the
at this
drawings, to
point.
my knowledge.
Jump in for a quick second. I'm Scott Benjamin, chairman of the building committee. The reason that this all came up, we've relocated the ropes course over there. Where it was is getting pinned. The rope course itself is rather thin. So by moving it out, it's allowing us to actually replant that area and create a better buffer. This just happened. We don't know for sure that there will end up having to be a walkway here. It is possible, and I might even say probable, but I don't know. It depends on the grade of that sidewalk. If it exceeds the handicap grade, you're going to have to put in a different one.
And also, Scott,
There was some
just a
discussion. I'm
clarification,
sorry.
George.
Oh.
The ropes course is actually shown relocated on the plans. It's a question of the walkway.
The walkway.
So if we could use the walkway along New England Road, we would explore that, but we think it's a little bit too steep.
All right, well, just to be clear, what's before us then
Where's the ropes?
does not have a walkway in it.
The ropes course is, I mean, I've heard discussion about this before. My understanding it's fairly informal activity that takes place in the woods. It's not a.
It's part of the curriculum, and it is supervised.
Oh, it is, okay.
And when it's not being used, it's secured.
What is it physically?
Yeah.
Physics. It's not much of a it's not much of a it's not a building or a structure.
It's not a building. Dr. Freeman, if you could maybe talk a little bit about that.
Sure. I'm Paul Freeman, I'm superintendent of schools. The ropes course is actually 4 telephone poles that will be set in among the trees. We're not looking to remove any of the trees. It's 4 poles that are set, and there are hanging climbing elements among those poles. Students during the school day, under supervision of PE teachers, will access those elements with ladders, with belays. They will move among the different climbing elements, supervised by teachers. They will only access that area with teachers and then would return back to the school day. At the end of the school day, the elements are raised up into the poles and they're secured. The ladders are removed. It's a wooded setting, and we're really talking about 4 telephone poles. When it's not being used, it's easily missed. The access would be necessary so that all of our students could access that activity as part of their PE class.
One more comment about this. The location of the walkway is important. Remember that this is going to be the access road for construction equipment. So I think we do need to think about the possibility of the walkway along New England Road. Students would have to come out of the existing footprint of the school here and then come out to New England Road and then to the ropes course, because this is going to be construction traffic. That's something that we haven't resolved yet, but that's my observation tonight.
All right, so then the issue that Ms. St. Paul has, if the walkway's up around the top, then that issue goes away with the traffic going next to her property, is that right?
As far as the walkway is concerned,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay.
She was talking about damaged trees.
Well, but I think part of the problem was because there's a walkway there, she's anticipating more traffic, which she's going to see.
That's true.
Okay. Any other questions at this point? Any other questions from the audience? If not, I'll go to statements in favor of the application from the audience. Anybody wishing to speak in favor? Is there anybody wishing to speak against?
Could I just say something?
Yes.
It's a little hard when I can't see what you're doing. The walkway around the other, on the road really is not possible without spending a great deal of money. There are a lot of trees there. I've walked it many times. Even if it was there, it's hard to get to from that administration building. People will naturally walk right along by my house. It's unless, you know, I can't imagine unless you put a barrier up so they can't get there. Kids always take the shortest route. People coming from that parking lot are going to take the shortest route. Going out onto the road and coming around the sidewalk is not the shortest route.
Okay, thank you. Is there anybody else wishing to speak against the application? Are there any other questions that anybody has related to it? Okay, hearing none, I'm going to close the public hearing on this matter.
I have a memo that hasn't been read.
Oh, I'm sorry, Reg. Why don't you read that into the record then? I misplaced that. Okay,
Now, we
please.
talk about the wooded area that Mrs. St. Paul was discussing with you. On December 15th, 2012, Imogene St. Paul, resident of 54 Long Hill Farm, came to my office to discuss the diminishing number of trees and understory in a wooded area between her house at Long Hill Farm and the high school tennis courts. She noted that Hurricanes Irene and Sandy damaged trees in this wooded area, and now lights from the tennis courts shine in her yard, and she has lost the privacy afforded by the once densely wooded strip. On December 26, 2012, I went to Mrs. St. Paul's property to find out the full facts of the matter. From her yard, I could see the tennis courts because foliage was off the trees. I observed tennis balls against her fence, indicating that stray balls enter this area. Mrs. St. Paul planted 3 large arborvitae next to her front walk to screen the view, and arborvitae near the northwest corner of her house to prevent tennis balls from hitting the house. I went into the wooded area and observed many large broken branches on the ground. The tops of some trees were void of limbs due to storm damage. And I have pictures attached to the memo. In my opinion, her request for replacement trees in the wooded areas is not unreasonable.
Okay. Did you bring this to the attention of the building committee or the architects or project?
No, I just did this memo today.
Okay. All right, any more input that we need to take into account? Okay, hearing none, I'll close the public hearing on this matter. If I can get a motion to approve the revised agenda?
So moved.
All in favor? Okay, first item to vote on is the Castiglione matter. If I can get a motion, please?
Okay, I'll go for it. I'll move that the Guilford Planning and Zoning Commission approve a coastal management site plan for Frank and Janice Castiglione at 63 Marshall Ave, map 10, lot 104, as shown on site plan land of Frank M. Jr. and Janice Castiglione dated October 19, 2012, prepared by Indigo Land Design. Additions and renovations to the Castiglione residence dated 10/29/2012, prepared by Stewart Lathers Associates. This application is approved with the following conditions. Number one, silt fence and/or hay bales backed by orange construction fence should be installed between the proposed addition and the coastal resources. Number two, the zoning enforcement officer should be notified to inspect the sedimentation and erosion control measures and orange construction fencing prior to any site work. Number three, soil stockpiles shall be contained by silt fencing and/or hay bales. Number four, the soil erosion and sedimentation control measures shall be maintained until all site work has been completed. Number five, all construction materials shall be stored at an uplands area of the property. This application is approved based upon a finding that with the variance granted, it conforms with the zoning code and is consistent with the coastal management policies of the state of Connecticut.
Okay, do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay, discussion.
Did you include the revision date on those plans, 1/16/13?
I have.
Okay.
So revised.
Okay. Discussion. All right, based on the additional information we've received and the additional changes that have been made to the plan, I feel that this application should be approved. I think they have mitigated the runoff water to the extent that is possible, and really there's not going to be an impact to the coastal resource, which was the main concern I had last time. So I'm in favor of the application. Any?
I'm still unswayed.
Green barrel and answer questions.
All right.
Two main concerns.
We'll take a vote then. All in favor?
All right.
Anybody opposed? Okay, that's passed. Next item is the Mazzella matter. This is a special permit for an accessory apartment, and accessory structure. If I can get a motion, please.
I'd like to make a motion that the Guilford Planning and Zoning Commission approve a special permit for Richard Mazzella for an accessory apartment in an accessory structure at 50 North Street, map 46, lot 85, as shown on an application dated September 24th, 2012, as heard at the public hearing on January 16th, 2013. This application is approved. I guess there are no conditions that have been met already. And the application is approved based on the finding that with the variance granted, it conforms with 273-19 of zoning code. The special permit is effective on January 25th, 2013, and upon filing with the town clerk.
Okay, do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay, we did have a letter in the file where someone expressed concern about the ownership. However, we do have the affidavit on file indicating ownership, as well as the fact that the applicant has indicated he's going to quit claim this over to his son, I believe, who's going to occupy the residence. So the concern I had has been addressed, and I'm in favor of the application. Any other?
Do we need to detail in the condition that it has to be owner-occupied, or that he has to?
Well, it has to be
copy
under the
of
regulations, otherwise there's going to be a zoning enforcement issue, so they have to conform to that. And apparently there was in the past, which is why they're here. So they're bringing it into conformance now.
When the special permit, if approved, when a special permit is filed, the deed should also be filed.
Otherwise, it wouldn't be in.
It wouldn't be
It
legal.
wouldn't be in conformance.
Well,
So I think it
right.
I think it
We
ought to
should
be.
add the
filing
condition, I
okay.
think, file concurrently.
Who,
It actually should be filed prior
to the
immediately prior to the special permit.
permit being granted. So who?
I made the motion.
Okay, would you have any objection to adding that as a condition, that
No.
the deed be filed, moving ownership over to the individual who's going to reside in the property prior to the special permit being effective?
So moved.
Okay.
Second.
We second it. Okay, with that condition, any other discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? All right. Next item is St. George's Church. If I can get a motion on that, please.
I'll read it. Voted that the Guilford Planning and Zoning Commission approve a special permit for St. George's Roman Catholic Church Corporation for a special permit and site plan revision at 41 Whitfield Street, map 39, lot 96, as shown on an application and plans dated December 17th, 2012, and as heard at a public hearing on January 16th, 2013. There is no conditions. This application is approved based on a finding that it conforms with the zoning code. The special permit is in effect on January 25th, 2013, and upon filing with the town clerk.
Okay, do I hear a second?
Second?
Okay, any discussion? Okay, very minor changes. We did not hear anyone from the public protesting those changes. More than enough area on the size of that lot to accommodate this. I'm in favor of it. Any other discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? All right. All right, moving on to the Guilford High School application. If I could please get a motion on that.
I'll read the motion then. I make a motion that the Guilford Planning and Zoning Commission approve a special permit and site plan application for Guilford High School at 605 New England Road, map 84/85, lot 1/9, as shown on the following. 1, Guilford High School regulatory approval plans dated December 5th, 2012, 31 sheets prepared by Malone and McBroom. Number 2, Guilford High School improvements construction phasing dated December 5th, 2012, 6 sheets prepared by Maloney and McBroom. And number 3, Guilford High School Building Committee dated October 9th, 2012, 28 sheets prepared by Tai Soo Kim Partners. This application approved with the following conditions: that 1, the final architectural plans be reviewed by Design Review Committee, and 2, that all site work be completed, including landscaping, be completed prior to issuance of certificate of occupancy. This application.
Just suggest there's some
Add Kevin's conditions.
conditions in there.
Yeah, and also Kevin's condition with the trees.
And
The
also,
maintenance and operation manual, the as-built drawings for the stormwater system, the trees, as per his letter dated
Today.
January 16, 2013, to the commission.
So moved.
Okay.
on the first condition, Design Review Committee, why don't we highlight there, including the lighting plan,
Okay.
architectural plans, including the lighting plan be reviewed. And you may also want to make note of the fact that this site plan approval does not include the sidewalk, the connecting sidewalk to the ropes course.
Okay, right, that it's not included in the approval at this time.
Correct.
And then I would just add, Peter, the last sentence here, the application is approved based upon a finding.
The application is approved based upon the finding that it conforms with the zoning code. The special permit is effective on January 25th, 2013, upon filing with the clerk.
Okay, do I have a second on that?
Second.
All right, discussion. With regards to the special permit, the 27331 allows an applicant to request up to 60 feet, so obviously the 46 and a half is well within that. There are a number of conditions we can take into account in order to grant the special permit. In this case, to me, we're reducing impervious surface and reducing the building footprint from what's there today, which are 2 of the conditions that are specifically spelled out in the code that allow us to go ahead and provide, to grant the special permit. So I'm in favor of granting the special permit. With regard to the site plan, we are not approving that walkway, but it sounds like there's still an issue with that one property owner with some of the problems that have occurred. Now, some of it, was a natural cause, as it was a result of the hurricane, not because of the town or what the individual had done to her property, but it would be nice to try to get that addressed, if at all possible. However, again, this is a site plan. Our job is really to just make sure that the application conforms to the regulations. Well, the special permit's for the height, but this is also a site plan for the rest of the application. And with regard to that piece, our job is really more to make sure that the regulations have been followed and that this conforms to all the regulations, which I think it does. So I would like to state that the building committee, I know they're under a tight budget, we're all taxpayers, we don't want to go over budget here, but to the extent that any issues that we have with the property owner can be addressed, I'd like to highly recommend that that be taken account of, because it sounds like there's a legitimate issue there. Anybody else have any comments?
Well, is there now, there's also light spillage now because of that, and that's a violation that should be rectified.
Well, the lighting is apparently, according to staff, conforms to the plans, but we
You-
have
you're
asked,
You're referring to the existing lighting in the
Right.
tennis courts.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know whether that can.
well, the design review is going to look, we look at.
No, he's talking about existing lighting, which it's there. And that was the problem, part of the problem with the hurricane damage to that wooded buffer strip. Because now that
But isn't that grandfathered in?
the
I mean, they're
wooded
not.
area is thin, oh, it is,
Right, yeah.
but now that the wooded area is thinned, that's why the lighting is shining down
Lighting
onto the
from the
residential
courts?
property. Yes.
And the courts are
from
lit
the tennis
when?
courts.
Are they lit automatically, or are they?
No, it's an option. You basically, whenever you play, you turn the timer on, it goes off, I think, after an hour. And I believe you cannot play there after 9:30, is it? I think 9:30 is when the lights,
I don't know.
I think it is. Is it
Timer
9:30?
controlled?
It's just the way he described it.
Turn it on.
Right, but if you were to go there after 9:30, turn the knob, it would.
can't.
I
You
think
can't.
it's 10, but
Okay.
you might be right, man. I'll look into that.
Well, is there any discussion on, should we add a condition requiring that the vegetation be replaced or some kind of an agreement be reached with the property owner?
We did something similar with the health facility on,
Right.
what's the name of that road?
It would be nice,
Where's that?
we all realize.
We
that
just did one,
budget,
the assisted living facility on
Oh,
Yes.
West Lake.
West-
What would be,
It's not unusual for us to say screen from your neighbors.
Right.
The
What would
building is
be,
moving
uh,
further south in general. It didn't strike me as being an unreasonable request.
what would be a reasonable way to word that, though? I mean,
Planting of evergreens over a 5-year period, which gives them time to budget money for plant material.
okay, how many, and, I mean, I just trying to make sure that we have a meeting of the mind between the property owner and the committee, so when we go out of here, everybody knows what's going to happen.
The question would be the distance of the spacing there, so if it's something they work with me on, we just ask them to plant evergreen type trees there and work with tree warden on the number
Okay.
and spacing.
Another way to look at it would be, I mean, presumably they're going to come back in with a revision to the plan to include this connecting walkway, wherever it might be. We could ask that as part of the plans for that walkway, they develop some kind of landscaping plan to address this issue of encroachment on this person's property. We could do both
To
of
me,
those
that would
things.
be the cleanest way to do it, because then.
It's hard to speculate what landscaping might actually be needed or be workable.
Depends on where the
without
walkway
never having
is, the
seen it.
lighting. Okay,
I think
I'm-
Reggie's the only one that's ever been there, so.
Well, let me
Well,
just
and
ask the
they
commission,
moved
would
to New
be,
England Road, so,
maybe.
right, and if they don't have to come in, then.
Yeah, the back courts don't have lights on them. I think there's 2 rows of courts, and the ones that abut the house, there are no lights. It's the ones, I don't know what there's a series of courts in the front and towards the back.
I don't know.
Well,
So it's not right next to the property,
Okay.
the lighting.
but even,
By this, my suggestion is you just, by way of guidance, suggest to the applicant that when they come in with the plans for the walkway, which it sounds like they need this walkway, there has to be some kind of walkway if they're gonna relocate this course. So when they come in with the plans, ask them to address the landscaping issue too, at the same time.
that would be fine with me.
And that would leave it open, and we say they address it. Doesn't necessarily mean that they're gonna plant a bunch of evergreens, they're just
No.
gonna address it. They're gonna
Right.
explain to us why they're doing what they're doing.
Right.
Good.
And we could even take a
That
closer
I'd be
look at it
okay with.
ourselves
I
if we
wanna-
wanted to.
Could I suggest then that we add that as an additional condition to the
Sure.
motion that we have on the table? Is that acceptable?
Sure.
Peter,
It
and
is.
whoever seconded it? Is
Yes.
that- Okay. Now we have the complete motion that's been seconded with the additional condition. Is there any other discussion on the application? Okay, hearing that, I'm going to call for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay, passed. All right, moving along to the site plans. We have another application from Guilford High School, property located 71 New England Road. This is a site plan revision to allow year-round shed and seasonal storage container. We have a request to waive a professionally prepared site plan as well, and I'd ask to have this received and take action, so I can get a motion to receive it.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor? Okay, George, you know who's presenting on this one?
I think Cliff from the school board is here.
Oh,
Yeah,
good.
Here.
Okay. Yes, we are, please.
I'm Cliff Gurnham, Director of Operations, Guilford Public Schools. Thanks for taking the time to review this tonight. This is composed of two projects that we kind of combined into the site plan to make it easier, hopefully, for you and for myself. The first thing that we're looking to do to accommodate the tennis team is to upgrade. They have a small container that's located next to the tennis courts. This is item 1, the shed that we're locating, which is going to be in the northwest section of the lot. Presently, like I said, they do have a metal container that's sitting there. They're looking to install a shed that is approximately about 30 feet off the property line that runs along the New England Road and about 20 feet from the property line that runs next to the school. The shed itself is relatively small. They're looking to house a couple ball machines and pick up devices and things of that nature. The tennis team, so it's pre-built shed that'll be brought in. I did speak with the building department regarding the location and securing it so that it does meet all the appropriate codes when it gets put in. So that has all been reviewed and put in place. So if this gets past, the ideal situation would be in the next 2 months or so, we'd have that in place for the tennis team in the spring season.
Very good. Questions of the applicant? Seems
What
pretty
does it actually look like? Do you have a photo?
I have in the packet, if you look towards the back, it's not a wonderful sketch, but this is sent down from the shed department, or the shed manufacturer.
Shed department.
So it's relatively simple. There's no windows, it's a single door, so it's very clean.
And that's what both of them are looking at?
That's the first one.
Number 1, okay.
Correct. The second item is located by what we call Central Office North. It's located more towards the middle eastern side of the property. It is located about 166 feet back from the front property line and 137 from the east property line and even 68 from the back property line. So it's a decent distance from any property line. What we're looking to put there is a 40-foot container. It's a temporary placement of a 40-foot container. It will fit in between the trees. Very little site work has to be done in order to put it in there. It simply gets rolled in, placed in its location. It would be dropped there around November, mid-November, and would stay there through probably mid-April. And the purpose for this is it will house some of our snow removal equipment that we use with the Board of Ed. So we have tractors and gators that we use. In past years, we've left those pieces of equipment outside, and anyone that has a feasible piece of equipment knows how well those run if they're left out without being plugged in or charged. So we're looking at maintaining that equipment, putting it inside, and then it's easily accessible, such as this morning when we have a snowstorm. It's on site because the first place we go to clear snow is actually the high school.
Okay. Any other questions? All right, I don't
Storage
believe
container come and go then?
Correct. So we will have the leasing company, we will lease it, they will come pick it up on a flatbed and take it away in April. So it won't be there over the summer months.
Okay. I don't believe there's any letters in the file regarding this one, so we have all the material in front of us. If there's no more questions, I'll ask for a motion.
Okay, I'll move that the Guilford Planning and Zoning Commission approve a site plan revision to allow a year-round shed and seasonal storage container for the Guilford High School at 701 New England Road, map 85, lot 9, as shown on the application, dated 9/6/12. This application is approved based upon a finding that it conforms with the zoning code.
Okay, do I hear a second? Okay, any discussion? Okay, hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay, you're all set.
Would you waive it?
Oh,
I'll
and
move
then
that we
also,
waive the professionally prepared site plan requirement.
do I hear a second? All in favor?
Aye.
I had a dumb question there, since you've already voted on it. Don't we have a limitation of 2 years for storage containers?
So they'll need to just come back in 2 years and request a renewal. Okay.
Very good, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, the next item is the Tower Motel of Guilford LLC. This site plan revision to allow an expansion of the residential use. Receive and take action. If I get a motion to receive.
I move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
It's a TS zone. I think this is a permitted. Oh, yeah, it's an
Yeah.
R5.
So residential.
Okay.
So where are we here?
For the record, I'm Mark Jones. I'm a land surveyor with Waldo Associates. I'm representing the owner of the Tower Motel. On the site plan, this is 1 equals 40 feet. I think you all know where the property is up on the post road near the water tower. Existing building is here. This motel unit is here and here. Comfort Inn is next door. What Yogi would like to do is put an addition on the back of the building here. Currently, there is like a three-season sunroom here and a concrete patio here or a cross hatch. What he'd like to do is remove the sunroom and build a finished interior space to accommodate his family. Yogi and his family live in the first floor of this unit. There's some hotel units above. So there's, we're just building some new living space on top of the existing slab there. Let's see, I believe town planner George Crowell has excused the project from design review. Most of the addition is not visible from the street, and it's quite small relatively. We're requesting a waiver from the traffic study, lighting plan, and landscape plan, since the project is very small and doesn't involve any additional ground restrictions. We've contacted NDTV regarding endangered species. They've responded that there should be no impact on this. Dennis Johnson has reviewed the project, indicated that the septic system is okay. Now, as far as stormwater, we really feel that no additional structures are necessary. In fact, we're going to reconfigure the existing sidewalk over here so that we have a slight reduction in impervious surface. So, currently, most of the rainwater just sheet flows across the backyard, across the lawn. So, we think basically there'll be no change. We're not going to do anything with that. So I think it's a small project on an existing slab.
Okay, well, we have a few letters in the file. First one is from Dennis Johnson, Director of Health, regarding the application. The applicant's proposed addition will consist of non-bedroom space and not impact design flow of the existing septic system. Sufficient lot area is available to accommodate the addition without impacting the septic system. Based upon our site plan review, it is recommended that the applicant's proposed use be approved. We also have a letter from Jim Portley, the town engineer, dated today. The proposed construction is insignificant as it relates to runoff or impact on the wetlands, as long as proper sedimentation and erosion control measures are employed. It is recommended that if approved, it be stipulated that prior to construction, the applicant install sedimentation and erosion control measures acceptable to the zoning enforcement officer. You're familiar with that? You're okay with that condition?
That's fine. I think a silt fence around the construction area will
Okay.
will handle that.
And then we did get a letter from the Energy and Environmental Protection Department. I have reviewed the natural diversity database maps and files regarding the area delineated on the map you provided for the proposed construction of an addition to Tower Motel located 320 Boston Post Road in Guilford. I have determined that this project will not impact any known extant populations of federal or state endangered, threatened, or special concern species that occur in the vicinity of the project location. Okay. That's it. So are there any questions of the applicant?
We're okay with coverage?
Oh, yeah.
All that kind of
Yeah,
stuff?
but it's, yeah, because they already had this green porch there and a cement patio. It's a very minor addition, Mr. Patel.
The architect is present if you have any
Yeah, the
particular
architect.
questions for him.
You may want to hear a presentation from the architect.
Sure.
Sure.
Good evening, my name is Sudhakar Nagargavlikar. I'm principal of the NSM Architects in Holland, Connecticut.
Thank you.
It's wonderful, because I would never guess it.
I know. I'll put up the elevation of the building here, and you can ask me any question that you want. This is approximately where the existing Four Seasons which really doesn't complement the existing facility. And also it did not meet the requirement that the applicant has. So it has been expanded and made into more complementary to the existing building. And it is a roughly, it is a single story, but it has got a two-story height. If you wish to look at that, I'll be more than happy to show it to you. This is a cross-section where this is the second floor, which just is opened up to have the balcony look over the living space. And this is all the living space that you have with the dining area opposite the kitchen. They literally don't have any dining space, they just eat into the kitchen right now. Any questions?
Any questions from the commission?
We're not requiring any stormwater?
Well,
Mark
that,
just explained it.
yeah, that was addressed, I think, by,
Well, he said he didn't think it mattered.
Well-
We just put those people on Marshall with the show me a rain barrel kind of a thing. I thought this was like a small addition. This is a two-story.
well,
There is an existing sun porch and slab there now. So the impervious surface is it's actually going to decrease because we're going to rearrange the sidewalks. So there's no change from the current conditions.
Are there drain pipes? Are there gutters? What are you doing for stormwater?
It sheet flows across the backyard.
Is that meaning no? You don't have any gutters?
We have a bioinfiltration mat, also known as a lawn.
but you don't have anything today,
There's
right?
no structures, no. It's really, the site doesn't really lend itself to that sort of thing because the backyard is mostly septic, leaching trenches under there. So we really can't put any stormwater structure in there. So, you know, currently, I've been out there in the rain, it sheet flows across the lawn and soaks in. There's nothing running out the back, so I think it's...
And you already have roofing over that area, so you're not increasing the runoff.
Exactly. We're actually slightly decreasing the impervious surface.
Okay, so you're not making it any worse. Arguably, you could be making it a little better.
The reason we were concerned about the other property is because it's immediately adjacent to Tidal Marsh and Long Island Sound. This property is on Route 1. In the back is a woods and wetland area on adjacent property. It's very low-density area.
Well, plus we're also increasing the runoff there. Here, from what I understand, we're not increasing it. Arguably, there may be a very small
We
reduction.
weren't increasing the runoff very much on that other
So one of the
property, but it's a very sensitive area.
You know, I absolutely understand Marshall Avenue. I just thought one of the requirements of site plan approval is that it showed stormwater management had been addressed and was in conformance with state
Well,
regulations.
you heard Jim's memo on that subject.
Yes.
He was concerned about sedimentation and erosion, which they're going to address, and we're going to make that a condition of the grant. but he didn't indicate that there was a problem with the runoff. And from what we've heard from the applicant, it's no worse than it is today.
I mean, I mentioned to Dirk when we first asked about the project about stormwater, like underground infiltration or rain gardens and stuff. I guess the answer I got is it's hard to do on this site due to the locations of the septic system and setbacks. Is that correct?
That's right.
Yeah, there's leaching systems down the hill from there. And also the fill is very poor quality. There are huge stumps and other things buried in that fill.
But again, I keep going back
to them for installing some sort of rain garden or some sort of.
I thought part of our site plan requirements was that stormwater be addressed. And I'm just trying to figure out why we seem to all be looking at our shoes saying we don't need to worry about it.
Well,
we've reduced impervious cover.
What I want to know, I mean, it's not like we're adding a roof where there's not a roof today and we're increasing it. Am I right about that to start with?
I thought the sun porch was only half.
I thought there was already a cover over it. And I mean, it's impervious now, so whatever gets on that slab is going to run off anyway. So we're not increasing the amount of area where water's going to run off. That's what I'm trying to get to.
You're exactly right.
So it's not making it worse by allowing this. If anything, there may be a slight improvement with the additional impervious surface they're creating.
Mark, do you have the total impervious surface now?
Say that again?
Do you know what the new impervious surface is going to be?
I don't have the exact number.
If my...
We have the exact change though.
The change, let's see, we have, we're going to add 14 square feet over here and remove 78 square feet and add 46. So we have we have a net reduction of 18 square feet of impervious surface.
Okay. I mean, if I'm wrong, let me know, but my understanding is we're not increasing anything.
No.
And we may be reducing it a little bit.
That's correct.
Okay. So, therefore, I'm not sure there's any additional runoff to address here with this. So it's not like we're not addressing it. I think it's just not necessary because we're not increasing it, and indeed, there may be a little bit of a reduction. I mean, they're already approved.
Well, and you have to take into consideration what can be done, the reasonableness of what might be done, and weigh that against the significance of the proposed improvements to the property, and in consideration of the type of site that it's located on and its proximity to other resources. When you weigh all those things together, it would be burdensome to ask them to, dredge up this backyard of stumps and bad fill and replace it, with new fill in order to deal with what is actually a reduction.
Well, that's my point.
So you have to be a little bit reasonable about these things. If they were making a major addition to the motel, then you might want to explore these options. But that's my point.
All right. Well, let me just ask, are there any more questions before we get a motion on the table? All right, why don't we get a motion then?
I'll move that the Guilford Planning and Zoning Commission approve a site plan revision for Towner Motel at 320 Boston Post Road, map 49, lot 6, as shown. Zoning location survey. It's Tower Motel, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
So for Tower Motel at 320 Boston Post Road, map 49, lot 6, as shown. Zoning location survey, property of Tower Motel of Guilford LLC, prepared by Waldo and Associates. Dated December 20, 2012, and architectural plans addition to Tower Motel, 4 sheets dated 11/26/2012, prepared by NN Architect LLC. This application is approved with the following condition: that prior to construction, the applicant install sedimentation and erosion control measures acceptable to the zoning enforcement officer. This application is approved based upon a finding that it conforms with the zoning code.
Okay, do we hear a second?
Second.
Okay, discussion. I mean, again, if there was an increase in runoff, I think that would have to be addressed, but from what I hear, and I asked a couple times, it's either the same or less. And it sounds like there's a more impervious surface, so in that case, I think we've done our job and addressed it as best we can. Any other statements or discussion? Okay, call for a vote, all in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed?
I'm going to guess.
All right, no problem.
That was
All right, you're approved. Okay. Okay, let's move on. Amendments to the regs. The first one we have is proposed amendments to zoning code. Article 30, this is to add 273-240. I won't read everything, but basically it defines what an acre of land is, and it's equal to 40,000 square feet. I'd like to receive and set a public hearing for March 6th. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Number 2 is another amendment to the zoning code, Article 31, Town Center South Overlay Zone. This is to amend the zoning code to create a new article. There is hereby created Town Center South Overlay Zone. There's a little bit more there, but we will dispense with that and ask to have this received and set for a public hearing on March 6th. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
There's also a proposal to amend the zoning map. We would like to amend the zoning map by adding an overlay district known as the Town Center South Overlay District. We'll receive and set a public hearing for March 6, 2013. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I have a special permit to receive, Thomas Gillerin, property located, pardon me? Gillerin, okay. Thomas Gillerin, property located 373 Whitfield Street. This is a revision to an existing special permit, which will allow an 8-foot extension to the building, a front porch, and a freestanding storage building. Also request to waive a professionally prepared site plan, receive and set a public hearing for February 20th.
So moved. Second.
All in favor? Aye. Okay, just a couple of announcements. Looks like we have February 19th at 5:15 p.m. will be the next planning committee meeting. In addition, we have the next zoning committee meeting on February 11th at 5 p.m. in Town Hall South Meeting Room. We have a bill for $129 from Sora Publishing. I get a motion to pay the bill.
Pay the bill.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Nice.
Approval of the minutes from 12:19. Do we have those?
No.
All right, so we will not take that up. If I can get a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
We're adjourned.